It is 5:30 on a Monday, so welcome to KindSoups. KindSoups, as most of you know, but we've got some new faces that I'm excited to see on this call. Welcome, everybody. KindSoups is one of our signature programs at KindWorks. KindWorks brings people together in community and for community. So we do a whole range of different projects that deliver goods and services that are needed by others in the community. And this project brings us all together weekly, if you're available, to cook soups and deliver to people who are either food insecure or feeling a little down, or maybe suffering from COVID and having to stay home and can't cook for themselves, or a whole host of other reasons that you want to share soup with people. It's been a lot of fun. We've been doing this for a year and a half now. We have caused over 5,500 quarts of soups to be delivered in community. And we're excited today to welcome one of our frequent chefs and our board member and the former chair of our home setups program, which set up homes for people starting over, either due to having been homeless or having had to flee domestic abuse, or the most frequently occurring reason that we set up homes for people was refugees coming in from other places and starting fresh. And Alexa created this refugee support program. And today she is gonna cook soup with us, and we are thrilled to have her. So I'm gonna, without too much further ado, introduce Alexa and hand her over to you all. Hi, Alexa.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I'm going to kind of scroll through. I know that we have a lot of new families joining us to cook with us tonight, and I am super excited about that. I am not terribly masterful at using my iPad. I'll be looking like off in this direction so that I can see your faces as we're cooking. A week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, Deb said, "Hey, Alexa, we're like looking for, guest chefs for the KindSoups. Can you do February 7th?" And I said, no, yes, maybe. And then I realized that, my mom's birthday was last Thursday, and she just turned 75. And that I really actually was completely willing and excited to come and cook soup with you all in honor of my mom. So then I had to have a complete meltdown about what recipe to choose because I wanted just the exact perfect one. I texted her and I said, what's your favorite soup? And she said, you mean one that I would actually never make for myself, but my favorite? She said, bouillabaisse, which is like fish stew and seafood. And I said, no. Like what I have learned and enjoyed so much in this KindSoups is really simple ingredients and good flavors that get mixed in new ways. So then I went searching for, the perfect recipe. And I ended up looking in the Soup for Syria cookbook that my mom gifted me a few years ago. And I poured through it and looked through all my different cookbooks. And then I found Lori Constantino's Greek chickpea soup with lemon and rosemary. My mom spent her teen years in Greece, and I just thought that this would be perfect. So the first thing that you guys notice, maybe in looking at the recipe, and the recipe that is on the KindWorks website was a mixture of the one from the cookbook and Lori's off of the internet, which were slightly different. And then I had to quadruple the recipe, which I did almost correctly. And then we corrected the website because Marge, who I don't know, is Marge, are you on here? There's Marge. Yay. She said, I don't think that the chickpeas, that's right. And so we corrected it a little bit, but not completely. So, what's so great about these soups is that they are super simple ingredients and they come together. And soup is very, very forgiving. And so if you don't want to peel your chickpeas, I think that's really okay. As Marge pointed out, we're going to be smushing this up in the immersion blender. So if you didn't spend lots and lots of time picking off the peel from the chickpea, that is totally okay. Half of my cup of lemon juice is store-bought, and the other half is nicely fresh squeezed. I also happen to use all 8 of my onions in the Cuisinart, so it doesn't look like 12 cups because it's really, really small. Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to mute myself for 1 second and ask my husband very kindly to go upstairs. So if you guys want to start with putting some olive oil or some cooking oil in your pan and turning it on and heating it up and then sauteing the onions. I'm going to mute myself. I'll be right back.
So while Alexa, oh, she's back. But Alexa, I was just going to see if, oh, Marge is asking chickpeas drained or not drained. And I think if you're using canned chickpeas, you probably want to just drain them. You disagree, Alexa?
No, I think that what it says on the KindSoups website is just in general, when it's beans, it is drained beans. I actually rinsed mine out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I did make a small effort to peel them. And I thought, no, I'm going to go with simple and easy. So I put some olive oil, actually some avocado oil in my big pot. And I'm going to put a pretty good amount. I have really, really good olive oil that I'm excited to use. So I will definitely save that for sort of once the onions are all cooked and all of that. That will tell me that, that will give in that good olivey flavor. So we can start by heating the oil and then putting our onions in. Had I wanted to just chop them by hand, I would have probably even done it fairly large dice. Again, because we're going to be smushing it up in the blender. So it will take a few minutes to get. So now we got to just put the onions in, and then we got to just let them saute and get golden. So that will take us a good amount of time. And Deb, did you want to say more about KindWorks as people are getting their onions in?
No, I was good with that, but I wanted to just see if people who hadn't cooked with us yet would just say hello and let us see their faces, because part of the fun of this for most of us is getting to meet new people and cook together in our kitchens. So who wants to pop on the screen and introduce themselves if we haven't cooked with you yet before?
Hi, I'm Ginger Knox. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. Oops, sorry, now my dog is.
I'm Ginger, and I'm also staying on mute because of my dog.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Ginger.
I'm
Jamie. Go ahead, Jamie.
I'm Jamie. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi, Jamie. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm Debbie, and I keep popping off the screen because my stove is over there and my computer's over here. So
okay, well, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us, Debbie. There you are.
So again, it'll take a while for the onions to saute. Something that I've noticed over the times that I've come to do the KindSoups is, how a base of onion and garlic and oil and maybe even just one spice or one flavor comes together to make such a really, really good soup. And what was interesting to me is that there's no garlic in this soup. It is literally just onions and chickpeas and rosemary and lemon juice. Okay, so Julia asked, is it 10 cans of chickpeas? So as I was saying, Marge noticed that my math was off because I said 10 cans of chickpeas and 10 cups of chickpeas. So again, I think if you have about 7 of the normal cans, 7 or 8 kind of normal size 15-ounce cans, I had some of those. And then I had the 2 big ones. Once you pour out the liquid and rinse them, it may be a little bit less. But again, soup is incredibly forgiving. So it is a lot if you're going to do the full quadruple recipe. Even if you double it or triple it, it's still going to be delicious, and you're still going to have some that you can share with friends, with community, to a nearby shelter, get it to a place that can, donate it to refugees. So however you do it, you'll just sort of play with the water and the chickpea amount. But I found that even a can of 15 ounces, when I put all my cans in and I drained the water out, and then I poured it diligently into my 4-cup to make sure that I had 10 cups of chickpeas, it was there. So it is 7 cans, 10 cups, give or take a cup or 2 or 3 is probably completely fine.
I had an idea that I want to share with Mira for your group. I think, Mira, you had said that you were going to, or some in your group are going to be helping to set up an apartment with Homes Not Borders for a refugee family this weekend.
Yeah, so there's a group of us from the JCC that are doing a setup this weekend, but it's probably not going to overlap with.
That's okay. That's okay, because I still think you could share some of these vegan soups into the freezer of the home that you're going to set up. So how do you know the family makeup that you'll be doing an apartment for, the size of the family and how many kids or adults they're going to be?
We just got the information today. It's going to be a family of 3, 2 adults and one of their adult siblings. So I'll be bringing the stuff that I'm making today, but since most of the other folks aren't actually going to be coming to that apartment, we'll just have everyone else go according to the list.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Alexa, I should warn you that Olivier just signed on.
Ah, bonsoir, Olivier. Hey, Olivia, what do you have?
Let me
say.
I learned how to write some Morse code, and I have this paper with the Morse code on it. So I just wrote a message and I translated it. So
What is this?
And the slashes
That is so.
in between different like words.
So what does it say?
It says, "Hi, I missed you."
Ah, missed you back. Dot, 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 dash, dot, dash.
For all the new families, Olivier, you're 9?
Yes.
You're 9. And he is a star chef. You have been the chef for, I think, 2 of our soups at least. And I know that you have attended many, many, many weeks of cooking with KindSoups. So I'm very glad that you are here, and welcome. So how's everybody's onions doing? Are they getting a little golden? Are they getting? No, I smushed mine up really a lot in the Cuisinart, and I still cried for like 20 minutes. So I think mine are going to take a little while. But we just want them nicely cooked and getting to be golden, so that when we put the chickpeas in and the other flavors, it comes together. In the recipe, it does say you saute the onions until they're golden and start to brown. Then you put the chickpeas in, the water, and the rosemary, and then you let it simmer for 30 to 40 minutes. So we won't necessarily have everything like completely ready right at 6:30 when we are done. But hopefully we will all be well on our way. And for the extras, as Deb said before, there are places on the website. There's a whole list of places that you can go and take your frozen soups to. There are labels on the website so that you can label it. It's great to print off the KindWorks website, the KindWorks label, put the date, put what kind of soup it is. So many of the soups that we end up cooking are vegan, because then they can be enjoyed by everybody, wherever they come from, whatever their situation. Your friends who might be vegan or vegetarian, refugees from Afghanistan or El Salvador, who, aren't quite up on sort of, everything vegan is just a great way to, it's just a great way to share. And I have certainly learned so much being on these Zooms. And Marge, I saw that you made a comment, you were talking about yes, soup is completely forgiving. And it's totally delicious. And we did attempt to correct the recipe, and we said, okay, maybe it's 7 cans, but we still left it at 150 ounces of chickpeas. So really whatever you have is going to be delicious. And hopefully it'll be fabulous.
Alexa, there's
Yes.
another question about slicing and dicing onions that even I can answer. The answer is we're going to blend this soup. So you want to chop the onions so that they cook, but they don't have to be very petite diced like Alexa's beautiful, whatever you call it, food processor.
Well, that's because we learned from one of our early on chefs that when you're going to blend it at the end, throw it in the Cuisinart. So that's what Alexa and I did today.
I see. Well, when I own a Cuisinart, Deb, I will throw it in a Cuisinart.
Right.
For anyone who's new on the call while I'm talking, if you live in the Bethesda area and you don't want to take your soup somewhere, you can bring it to my house. I live in West Bethesda over near Carter Rock Elementary. And I deliver soup every Tuesday morning to Germantown. So you can deliver it to me anytime tomorrow morning before 9:45. But if you can't make that, it's fine to deliver it later in the week, provided it's frozen. And then I throw it in my freezer and it will be delivered next week. So if you need my address, I'll throw it into the chat.
Thank you, Marge.
If we do it tomorrow, we don't need to freeze it?
If you can get it to me by 9:45. But even then, if it's not frozen, we have to deliver it to the various distribution hubs frozen. So that if you don't have a freezer that's big enough, people sometimes do this. They bring me soup and I put it into my freezer and it will be frozen by next week and go next week.
Okay.
I usually
I was going to we have a freezer in the basement. I was going to put it in there, but I wasn't sure if it would freeze overnight.
Oh,
Yes.
well, it usually will unless you really stack them up high, in which case sometimes the ones in the middle don't get so frozen. In which case, when I see them like that, I just throw them back in my freezer and they go next week. It's not a big deal.
So Marge, one funny thing is the hub thinks that you cook all that. I heard from Marco today. There's one lady who keeps bringing us a lot of soups. And I'm like, no, that's about 15 ladies. But
No, I typically cook about 15 quarts of soup per week because I'm constantly experimenting with different recipes. So, and I cooked yesterday, for example, with the Texas people. That was very interesting, by the way.
Good. Alexa, there's a question. Is there a way to remove the chickpea skins other than manually?
I don't think so. And I gave it a small effort. I would say I did not try very hard. But again, when Marge was correcting my math, it is going to get some, believe me, I need it. Math is not my strong suit. So I really feel like if we can smash up hummus, which is chickpeas basically and lemon juice and tahini, and make it really, really smooth, I really think that leaving with the skins on, I'm pretty sure that this soup is going to taste completely delicious with the skins on. I put my chickpeas in water and I kind of half-heartedly kind of smushed it a little bit with very clean hands, and a few skins came up and I took a few off, but I really think it's okay. That said, I know that there are people who really enjoy cooking exactly the way the recipe says. And so, it's just to do it manually. Yes, Olivia, you're currently muted.
Right. Once you put the chickpeas inside, you just let it simmer for 30 minutes.
Yes. So we're not right now where we're at is we're still waiting for our onions to get golden. Mine are slightly getting golden. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to put my chickpeas in, and I have a big thing of chickpeas, and I might give my onions just another minute or so. A few weeks, maybe in November or early December, we had a guest chef on who was making koshari, which is the like national fast food dish of Egypt. And that you use fried onions. And so the thing about onions is that like they cook and they cook and they cook and they cook and they cook. And then they start to get golden and you blink and then they're burned. And koshari is the only like Egyptian dish that my Egyptian husband and my Egyptian in-laws and my Egyptian friends like, that like I can actually make it taste really, really good. But again, I always burn the onions. So these onions, I think mine are beginning to get a little bit golden. If you use bigger pieces, maybe they're starting to get golden as well. So we can probably go ahead and put the chickpeas in. And I'm going to use at the end, I do have an immersion blender. And that's what I plan to use to mix them, just because then it stays in the same pot. What I wanted to say also, in terms of freezing the soups, if you have quart containers, typically what I do is I'll take my soup at 6:30 when we're done. I'll take it off and I'll just kind of let it sit on the counter on my stove for a while to just cool down a little bit. Deb, Deb is showing the KindWorks containers. It's great to have quart-sized containers like that, or any kind of uniform, container that you can use to give it away. I am going to add, a couple weeks ago, I thought that I was going to make one of the soups, and so I bought a bunch of vegetable stock, which I didn't end up using. So I'm going to use vegetable stock, but the recipe calls for water, and that will be completely fine to use water. Again, we've got a whole lot of olive oil, we've got a whole lot of lemon juice, and we've got a whole lot of rosemary going in on top of these good, chickpeas. So if you have water, then that is 100% fine. I'm going to go ahead and put my liquid in, and it says to do the tablespoons of chopped rosemary. I am glad that none of you took me up on my offer of homegrown rosemary, because I actually looked at it and it's like really old, and I got to figure out how to trim it so that it like grows fresh in the spring. And I ended up going to Trader Joe's today and buying fresh rosemary, which I chopped very, very fine. And so we can put the onions and the chickpeas and the liquid in, and then put in some of the rosemary. If you're quadrupling it, it's going to be 4 tablespoons, and then you're going to save some aside for the garnish. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we can just let it simmer, come to a boil and then simmer. For the soup, if you have the containers, I was always getting very creative with the things in my freezer so that I had room for 6 or 8 or 10 quarts of soup. There is, if you don't have any freezer space, but you have fridge space and you are willing to cross the river and go into Virginia, if you happen to live in DC or Maryland, the Embry Rucker shelter in Reston, which is just a quick trip out the Dulles Toll Road. There it doesn't have to be frozen soup. So I always just take it the next day, and it does not have to be frozen. Olivier, what's your question?
Why do you blend the soup?
Because the cookbook, because the chef who created the recipe told me to. And that's how she made it. Let me see if I can.
Is it because it makes it nice and creamy?
I think so. Oh, I don't know how to flip my camera, but here, I'll do this low tech way. This is what it looks like. So it's a creamy soup. It's a creamy soup, but it is a soup. It's a creamy soup. It is definitely not the consistency like hummus, because it does have, you know, so many cups of liquid. I think it was 16 cups if you quadruple the recipe. So that's why. But I think that it would have good, you know, I put in 16 cups of liquid and I put in the right amount of chickpeas. And that could be tasty too, depending how big you chop your rosemary. I think it might be nice to get that rosemary really, really smushed up too, so that it's not a big bite of rosemary. How's everybody doing?
I might not have a big enough pot. I
Oh.
didn't think about this. I have an 8-quart pot. That's not going to work, right? I guess I have to divide it up.
Yeah.
You can divide it up.
I split in two. It helps the onions cook faster too.
Somebody did say yes. Typically, we find that these recipes, it is for drained chickpeas. Although, as we learned from Olivier and Martine, his mom, that you can, if you save the liquid from the chickpeas, the garbanzo beans, and you whip it like whipped cream, it makes a vegan whipped cream that is quite delicious. Martine, do you sweeten the what's it called, aquafaba, when you make it?
Yes, if you want to make it like a meringue, then you would have to sweeten it a little bit. I haven't played around. I've only done it once or twice years ago, so I haven't played around to try different things, recipes with it. But you would have to sweeten it. It does have zero flavor at the very beginning. When you start whipping it, it really smells like chickpeas. But once it whips up, then you don't smell it anymore.
You really don't. It doesn't taste like chickpeas at all? Oh, that's great.
It's amazing. It really is amazing.
That is great. And I think that after you taught us about that a couple of months ago, I think that then that there was one or two people who gave it a try, to make the vegan whipped cream. So I have a really, really humongous pot, that I really enjoy cooking my KindSoups in, and it can definitely fit, 15, 20 cups of liquid, but it definitely takes time also to come to the boil. So we will just let that happen apace. And did everybody see Marge? Marge put her number in and her email and her address in the chat. And so that can work, but there are, Deb, are there still places in downtown? Like, I think there's a couple of DC places that will accept the soups. I know
there's one near Sibley on right off MacArthur on Manning Place. So that's as far down as we go at this point.
Okay, I didn't realize that she was the farthest in. If you go on MacArthur to Manning Place, drive the speed limit, which is 25 miles an hour, because there are cameras on MacArthur Boulevard. And she has a freezer out front of her, outside her front door, and a banner that says Kind Works. But for that, you will want the soup to be frozen. Deborah, do you have a question about your containers?
Yes, please. So I have tons of these yogurt containers because that's my breakfast every day. Are these okay for putting the soup in?
Where are you intending to deliver them to?
I haven't decided yet, but I'm in DC, so someplace close.
So yeah, probably the Manning Place location or Homes Not Borders on PG County. Are you over in that direction?
It's not too far. I'm in
Well,
Columbia.
either one of those, I'll give you the same answer, and that is that those will work, but please do put a label around it that clearly says the things that we've asked you to say on it, which is that it's part of Kind Soups. Then they kind of know that they're trusting this, right? That it's Kind Soups, that the name of the soup, your first name and last initial, and you can write on it, you know, vegan and today's date. And yeah, that those containers will be fine.
Thanks.
Deborah, when I use those off containers, I label it not only around the side like Deb is saying, but I also put a label on top to cover that it says whatever kind of yogurt, because you don't want people to look at it and say, oh,
Right.
it's vanilla yogurt, when
Right.
in fact it's chickpea
Right.
soup.
Yeah, so
Okay.
really cover the thing. And the other thing is, if it doesn't snap as tightly as these do, maybe put you know, how they do at the grocery store. Sometimes they'll put some rubber bands around them.
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think they're pretty tight. I mean, I
Right.
use them for my leftovers all the time, including in the freezer. So I think
Yeah.
they're okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Lex, I'll share what may end up being a tip and a trick, but I don't know because I haven't finished yet. But you inspired me to go outside and see if I could find any fresh rosemary outside. And it wasn't beautiful, but it was still there. And so I brought a bunch in, and I used dried chickpeas and cooked them in my pressure cooker and threw the rosemary sprigs right in there. So I'm hoping that that will have infused these chickpeas with a nice rosemary flavor. We'll see.
Deb, did you say that you cooked your chickpeas from dry?
Yes, and I added a whole bunch of outdoor rosemary sprigs in the pressure cooker. So I'm hoping that I'll have all that built in. We'll see.
That's great. That
Awesome.
is great. And how long did you pressure cook them?
12 minutes and then release it after 10.
Great. And did they turn out really soft?
Yeah, they're perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
We took the rosemary from our garden and we soaked it overnight.
No, the chickpeas we soaked overnight.
Oh, the chickpeas we soaked.
Yeah. That's great. That is great. And so somebody said, they asked about cooking in a slow cooker. If you wanted it to, you know, what's nice about these soups, particularly if you're, you know, using canned chickpeas, is that it comes together really quickly. So it doesn't need hours and hours in, you know, of cooking, because the chickpeas are already, you're going to put already cooked chickpeas in there. So I suppose you could, you know, and kind of get what you can, and then probably put, if you do it in the slow cooker, do it on
It's
high.
just my biggest pot. So I feel like it would sit better in that than any other pot that I have.
Yeah. Once you get your onions cooked, then you can just put everything in there and put it on high for, you know, a couple of hours until it looks like it's really, you want to wave to everybody?
Great.
That's my husband.
Sorry, everybody.
So yeah, so that can work. And again, soup is forgiving. It's going to taste delicious, whether you make it in a big pot or a little pot, slow cooker, everything, anything will work. So yes, what Deb is saying in the chat is you can find the recipe online. You can find the labels on our website, KindWorks website. It's great to print those out. You know, make your own and do it however you need to for the different container. But then we also have a link, is it, Deb, where you can go and we're trying to kind of have an idea of how far this Kind Soup is going and how much we're all making and contributing and gifting to people who will really enjoy it and are in need. So if you can then go to our website and say, okay, I donated 8 quarts to this place. Also, we love the stories and the human connections here. So if you make some quarts and you drop it off at Manning Place, or you give it to Marge to take to the Up County Hub, and then you also give it to your elderly neighbor, we would love to know that you took it to the Up County Hub or Embry Rucker or to Homes Not Borders. And we particularly would love to know if you have a friend over, if you gift it to your elderly neighbor. Those stories of the connections are incredibly meaningful. Olivia, did you have another question or comment?
Well, I'm gonna have to leave now because I have to eat dinner and go to bed. And so we started early and we're almost done. So I can't wait to try this soup.
Excellent. And have you guys, have you done the immersion blender yet? Have you blended it?
Not yet. We're going to.
No. Well, okay, quickly, Martine, before you guys go, can you just take your camera, because I don't know how to do it on my iPad, and show us what your soup that's kind of more cooked looks like?
Okay, sure. Our soup, 1 minute. Let me mix it so that they don't see all the bubbles.
Does that look right? Does that look right, or is it too thick? Do we need more water or broth?
No, I think it looks great. And then when you put the blender, you know, when you blend it up, if you want it to be a good consistency. So if you need to add a little bit more water.
Okay, I was going to put it in our Vitamix, or would you recommend the immersion blender instead?
No, I think you can do the Vitamix too. Just do it. Yeah, just quickly, whatever blender you have, that will taste great.
Okay, well, thank you. It looks delicious. It looks delicious, and I'm sure it's going to taste delicious as well.
We're glad you joined us.
Enjoy, Olivier.
Good to see you, Olivier.
Yes, today he said, it's Monday, we must do Kind Soups today.
Well, we're glad you did.
So thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
So Alexa, I have a question. You're on mute, but I have a question about simmering. Are we simmering without the cover on, right? Without the
let's see. It said bring to a boil, turn down heat, and simmer until the onions are meltingly soft and flavors have melded together. Bring to a boil. I think it's yeah, that sounds uncovered to me as well. And because it's such a low simmer, I don't think too much of it's going to boil off. And I think it's definitely not supposed to be a very liquid soup. It's supposed to be pretty thick. And you know, lentil soup is thick, and chili is thick. So I think however it turns out. Because my onions were so small, I have just a little, you know, and I use vegetable broth. My liquid is, you know, I can't see very far down into it. But you know, the chickpeas are definitely swimming in it. So it should be okay.
What was the what's the name of the cookbook?
It is I got it from Soup for Syria. And then I also found it on, let's see, on Lori Constantino on her website. So the Soup for Syria cookbook, it's one of the, you know, composite. It has says recipes to celebrate our shared humanity. It has Anthony Bourdain, Mark Bittman, Yotam Ottolenghi, Sammy Tamimi, Claudia Rodin, Alice Waters. So it's a compilation, and it's not just Middle Eastern or you know, Mediterranean soups. It's from all over. And so I just wanted to kind of see if I could find an easy version of it for you know, for ease of putting it up on the website. And I found it. I found it there. And what was interesting is that the recipe here and the recipe in the book is a little bit different. Just a little tiny bit.
Well, we saw that when we made the watermelon gazpacho. What's her name who writes for the Times, who wrote the book Dinner? Melissa Clark.
Yes, so she's fabulous.
In the book, it's different from what it shows on the New York Times website. It's like, for goodness sakes, this is the same author.
But she's probably not putting it up on the New York Times website by herself. No, she's fabulous. And Martha Rose Schulman too has such amazing recipes. And then you can just, you know, find on your phone, whatever is easiest. So, and something I'm thinking about too is, you know, we got the onions nicely sort of sauteed. The chickpeas, they're really going to hold up and they're going to stay pretty firm until we blend it. But what's nice about canned chickpeas is that they're already, you know, right consistency. But Deb, it is good. Deb, I have a quick question for you when you are able to come back. Did you soak your chickpeas before you put them in the pressure cooker for 12 minutes?
Absolutely not. Should I have?
Okay.
Should I have? No.
No.
No. I was looking for quick and down and dirty, you know?
And then did you cook them with salt?
Sorry.
Did you cook them? Do you cook them just in water and the rosemary?
Yes. And normally I do a little bit of salt and a little bit of bay leaf and a little bit of garlic, but this recipe didn't really call for those things. So I could have put salt in, but I didn't because I always add that.
Right. Marge or anybody else who has a lot of experience with the Instant Pot or the pressure cooker. But my understanding is that it's great to initially cook the beans without salt, but canned chickpeas are not cooked without salt and then the salt is added. So I think it's fine, you know, however one does it. And it's gonna be delicious. So I am not going to taste my soup on Facebook and live streaming, but we will at some point all want to, you know, taste and check for salt and put in some pepper. And then we are going to put the lemon juice in right at the end. And she does say if the soup is too thick, once you've blended it up, add more water until the texture is to your liking. And again, you know, I used a good amount of the olive oil. I didn't use, I don't think I actually used anywhere near a cup, but I will be probably pretty generous with the olive oil at the end to get that good flavor in. And Terry, I see you nicely peeling all of the rosemary leaves off of their stalks. Fresh rosemary is so nice smelling. So for any of you who joined maybe a few minutes after we started, if you all have family soup recipes, a favorite one that you have cooked for years, or elders in your family, or that you always cook for a particular holiday or a particular gathering that you all would like to share with the Kind community and with KindWorks, we hope that you will reach out and say, I would love to, you know, host, to be the chef for a KindSoups. I don't know, Deb, how far out your schedule is taken, but that's what's so fun is, you know, learning other people's favorite soups, other family traditions. Some months ago, and Deb, it was a KindSouper who had been cooking with you all, and then she ended up cooking her mother-in-law's, I think, zucchini soup, and it was so delicious. And it was like garlic and onion and zucchini and water, and it was so good. You don't have to be used to being on Zoom, although I think so many of us are. You know, just please join us and say, hey, I'd love to offer soup to the community so that we can enjoy learning about your traditions and family heirloom recipes or things that you love. So please do join us. This is only my second time being the person who came up with a recipe. And the first time I did it, it was also based on my favorite soup that my mom used to cook for me. So it's really fun to do and pretty easy to do as well. So does anybody have any questions? And is everybody's soup simmering smoothly? We don't do vegan recipes only, Deborah asked. What we do ask is if you use we don't just do vegan, we do dairy products. If you're going to use a meat recipe, we want it to be, you really need to clearly label it. And many places would be happy to have a chili or something with meat. If you're going to take it to Manning Place or Homes Not Borders, it needs to be vegetarian, or you would need to buy halal, zabiha, Islamically slaughtered meat, because Homes Not Borders primarily, Homes Not Borders is setting up primarily right now for Afghan refugees. And so for them to feel really comfortable enjoying it, it's better. It's just simpler if it's vegetarian. In September, I think we had a wonderful month of Afghan soups, and we had guest Afghan chefs. And I think my favorite one was chickpeas and potatoes, and it had this like vinegar on it, and it was so good. But a lot of them had like yogurt or cream, and we learned, trying things different ways, different times, that a cream-based soup, it doesn't freeze as nicely, or a soup that has yogurt in it, it doesn't freeze as nicely as one would like. So that's more, I think, why we've kind of gone back to primarily vegetarian soups. There was another question, say more. The kinds of foods that are particular Afghan tradition. And yeah, we didn't talk about that. One thing I love is that now up on the KindWorks website, Deb, do we have all of the recipes from our previous Kind Soup sessions?
Yes.
Which is so fabulous. So you can go back and see all of them. It's because I printed a few out here and there, and then it's like, I really love that they're all up there, so that you'll be able to go and see that. And for the Afghan soups that we did, it's beans and potatoes and garlic and onion and a few spices. I am thrilled that KindWorks has restarted the apartment setups. We did it for 4 years, and then after about maybe it was like 7 months after the pandemic started, for those first 7 months of the pandemic, we were still giving away things, but we weren't setting up apartments. And then we took a hiatus, and then since August, KindWorks has been able to restart the home setups again, being fast and careful and doing a lot of drop-offs. And with the Afghan evacuation and so many Afghan families coming to our area, we are now working more directly with different families and through different agencies. So it's looking different now, but certainly Mira and those of you from the JCC who will be going on Saturday to Homes Not Borders, it's so fun. It is so fun to go start with an empty apartment, cars full of stuff, and you empty it all out and you arrange it in the apartment, and it's just the most incredible feeling, and such a really joyful and meaningful experience. And KindWorks, how many have we done since August, Deb? How many drop-offs have you done? Do you remember you've helped?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe around
dozens of people.
Yeah, no, for sure. Probably 30 since August, because January alone was something like 14, I think. So, so we've done a lot. And if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, we also have opportunities for you again in community, but in a newly thought of way. You can participate to support the families that, for instance, Homes Not Borders and your own fellow congregants are going to do this weekend by providing what we call Kind Welcome Dinner. And we can give you a kit for doing something like that. And somebody who had asked about what are typical Afghan foods, these are tested recipes, tried and true, that we have made and others have made as a result of our sharing these recipes probably 50 times. Somebody from upstate New York got the recipe, somebody from Minnesota's got the recipes. So they've gone all over the country. They are not ours, but we've made them our own. And it's a full meal. You make and deliver a welcome meal for a family who's newly arrived. And we'd love you to participate either on your own or through us. And another project we've put together is Kind Kitchens, which is a 2-week supply of groceries, refrigerated groceries and pantry goods that gets delivered to a newly resettling family. And both those things, as you can imagine, just come with they overwhelm the families who walk into those apartments and see their kitchens fully stocked and the refrigerators filled with lovely homemade food that they recognize in gorgeous dishes for them to keep. And finally, we do Kind Extras. And those are things that oftentimes the resettlement agency or a group that sets up for them cannot include. It's just too much stuff, but we can supply those to supplement the needs for the family. And they typically might include a sewing machine and some notions, maybe a refurbished computer, some bicycles, a vacuum cleaner. These are things that the families really need. Pressure cookers, families need and want, but it's not included in a normal home setup. So there's a million ways to get involved. They're all on our website. And please, if you're passionate about refugee support, go to our website. If you enjoy cooking and you want more of this, come and join us any Monday, 5:30 to 6:30.
And the Refugee Apartment Setup Program, it started just about 5 years ago in February of 2017. And we did a welcome refugee dinner in River Falls, and we invited some families, and out of that grew the home setup program, and which expanded and went in different ways. We were working with the resettlement agencies, but then we did also start to make welcome dinners where a group of us would get together at somebody's house, at a host's house, and make the full meal, but not just make the full meal to give away, but also to get to know each other, and to enjoy the food together. And obviously that had to change in the pandemic. And so from that came the welcome dinners that you all, with a small group of friends, can put together, because it's a rice dish and a meat dish and a salad and a yogurt sauce and a delicious dessert. So as Deb said, those are all available. And what we enjoyed doing now, KindWorks is primarily dropping off. And so it isn't going in and setting up everything for the family. We let them have the agency to figure out where they want to put their furniture and decorate as they see fit. But it's also a wonderful opportunity to interact with these families that are arriving and who are very grateful for the help. And it is a great pleasure to get to know them. So. Does anybody have any other questions? When you feel like it's all simmered enough, then you want to add in the lemon juice and the salt, and then just taste it. Taste it to make it, sure, and then put the cracked pepper or the fresh pepper on it when you are done.
I'm not even boiled yet, so this is gonna be a long project for me. I ended up using a huge stock pot, which is fine. I can follow the rest of the directions. I just want to make sure I understand a couple things about the end. So I do have quart, plastic, Ziploc, whatever you call them. I'm gonna do a quart, so there'll be about 4 in total. Is that right?
So yes, are you talking? So you have Ziploc bags?
No, I have the little Ziploc with the lid.
Oh, good. That's fine.
Okay, so like a container, not like a bag.
It's a Ziploc brand, but they're the little like Tupperware.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want
And the one you-
4. Sorry.
I was just going to ask. I was the one using the slow cooker. I put the lemon juice in with everything else. Is that?
I think it's totally fine.
Okay.
I think it'll be totally fine. Yep, not to worry.
Repeat my mantra, Alexa. Soup is for
Soup is-
giving.
Yes.
If you don't have fresh rosemary, how much dried would you recommend?
That is an excellent question. So for the quadruple recipe, it said 4 tablespoons. So for the original recipe of 2.5 cups of chickpeas, it said 1 tablespoon. I think that you want to go very carefully and start with maybe a half, like a teaspoon. Probably try 1 teaspoon, stir it all up, taste it, and then go from there, because I know between fresh and dry is very, very different. So maybe start with a half a teaspoon. I don't think a half a teaspoon is going to be enough for 4 tablespoons, but I think you might not need much more than a teaspoon.
Okay.
But you might. So just start there, because it's easier to add more than to try and take dried rosemary out. So yeah. And Deb, what are the soups that are coming up in the coming weeks? If more people would like to join in the future. It's always 5:30, 6:30 on Monday evenings. It's always the same kind, Zoom link that's always the same on our website, and it's easy to just go and find that.
Yeah, unfortunately, everybody is for one reason or another under the gun, and our recipes, which had been up months in advance, are just getting up the day after each Kind Soup session on Monday. So I can't really tell you what the upcoming ones are. Check our website, but they'll be up. They'll be up if not tomorrow, then quite soon.
Deb, I will cook a soup. We tried a sweet potato soup 2 weeks ago, the Harshalom group.
Yeah.
And it was so good that someone delivered to me and apologetically said, I would have brought more, but my husband loved it and he kept eating it all.
That's dangerous. You got to add too much pepper or something, Marge. Keep them away.
Who knows? Anyway, so the sweet potato soup, just tell me what dates are available. Send me an email. Okay?
I will. Thank you. And that'll be fun. Thank you.
Yeah, that sweet potato soup was extraordinary, and it was the chocolate. It was like a mole chili, and everybody who has had it has raved about it. Put a big star next to that recipe.
Oh, in fairness, this is a different sweet potato soup. Sorry.
Oh, okay, well, this was a chili type of stew, and just the chocolate. Oh my gosh.
Holly, I think I'm going to try to push you to lead that. That sounds delicious.
Well, we made it. We did that 3 weeks ago. It was so good.
Oh, on a Monday? Then it's on the
Yeah,
Wednesday.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of us.
Yeah.
But tonight, I'm pairing my fabulous chickpea soup with one of our welcome dinner dishes, the eggplant, the luscious eggplant dish that we make for the Afghan families. And it is just the best, it's a simple, lovely dish that I think will go well with this soup.
That's
so
wonderful.
Yeah, it's working right now. So
good.
Excellent. Great choices.
Anybody who is new have any thoughts about how they just spent their last hour, or anything they want to share before we have to let everybody go and finish up on
Thank you for
our own?
including us. It was lovely. I've got my daughter slicing and dicing in the background, and I'm
Awesome.
listening and directing. That's been very fun. Thank you.
Oh, good. That's fun.
Thank you
Excellent.
all. This has been great. Appreciate it.
Good, Ginger.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Ginger.
Thank you. A lot of fun. I've made a total mess of my computer.
Going between stirring and this. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope to see you back on other Kind Soups. We hope that you will volunteer to lead. I'm not any kind of Zoom expert, and the first time I did it, I was really nervous, and then I was really nervous kind of leading up to today. And it's just lovely to see your faces and to chat and to cook together, and to remember that it's soup. It's delicious and it's warm and it's comforting. And so we thank you so much for
And
joining
it's so
us.
fun to have everyone in our kitchens again.
In one way or another.
Yes,
So
exactly.
thank you all so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alexa.